Hey, Steve. I understand that you have a cool story about soup, God, and your colleagues. Do you want to share that with us?
Be glad to. Be glad to. Probably last fall, we heard about this soup program happening, our soup event happening at the church, and Jenny, my wife, right away said we should get involved in this because she knows that my four at work are the guys that I try to influence them with as much as I can about church and my life to them, and they know where I stand, and it's always an opportunity to see where God's going to work. So at first we just maybe took 4 or 5 jars in, and I just handed them out to the 3 colleagues I work with and my supervisor, and I think it was on a Friday afternoon because by Monday they came back and said, we want more. And I said, well, okay, you're gonna have to let me make a phone call, and that was fairly easy. And by the end of the day, I had another 12 on board, and I brought them in, and we handed those out too. And the funny part is, my supervisor, he said, I want a dozen myself. And so I said, okay, we can do that. And he said, what I'll do is I'll give you the money. What's it cost? I said, well, don't worry about it. He said, no, I'm buying this. He said, I want it for me. So I said, well, I think it's about $5 a jar, so it's 60. He said, well, here's 100. Your church will know what to do with it. So I said, that's cool. That's very cool. Thank you very much. And I said, I'll make sure it gets in the right hands. And I said, but I have a question for you. I said, what are you doing with it? He said, well, we have 6 kids, and he said some of them are at home, some of them aren't. And he said over Christmas, this was at Christmas time now, and he said we're not seeing some of them, so we'll be visiting them with gift baskets. And he said this is going to be part of the gift basket. And I said, fantastic, that's cool. And he said, and I'll explain what your church is doing and why they're doing that, and we'll go forward from there. So I said, okay, that's great. I kind of thought, okay, this is good. God's working. I like this. And so after Christmas, some of the guys came back and said, we'd like more of that soup. I got on the phone again and called Catherine. I said, we need another dozen. And I said, may as well give me 2 while you're at it. So we kept some at home. We handed some at home, but I took a dozen to work. And the one guy immediately took 6 right away, and we left the other 6 on my shipping desk. And so some of the couriers that come and pick up from us, they came into the shop and said, who's selling the soup? And one of the guys I work with, he completely stole my thunder. Get a little emotional over this. I just stood back. He said, he goes, well, Steve brings this in from his church, and they sell it, and they're really doing an outreach for the community. I mean, he completely took it, and he's kind of looking at me going, am I saying this right? Am I saying this right? And I'm like, I just crossed my arms and let him take away. So by the end of the day, all that soup was gone also, and it's just been fun to see how God's working with just a simple jar of soup.
Yeah. How have you seen God work through this simple jar of soup?
It's interesting because in our conversations now, we often talk about current events and things that are happening. The guys know where I stand. I've worked with all these guys for a year now, and yeah, when you have 8 hours a day and you talk to guys, we soon figure out our characteristics and what makes you tick and who we really are. So I've had no problem telling them that I go to church. I'm a Christian. These are my beliefs, and I don't have the Bible on my desk or anything like that, but they know where I stand, and I know where they stand, and we respect each other, and it's a good mix of conversation and respect that goes with it. So
yeah.
Another gentleman at this church, Matt Baber, I work with him there too, and we're kind of known as the church guys. And one time my supervisor, you could tell he had something on his mind. There's something going on at home, and so he came to us and said, I know you guys are the religious guys. Do you mind praying for me? And we were like, absolutely, we will. And that's just so fun to see that you're kind of labeled as that, but it's not a threat. No. When the rubber hits the road, they look at you for what you have to say, and that's important. It's important to see how God works in that way.
Exactly. So I guess you keep some soup stocked at home?
We do. It's kind of fun. We usually try to have a dozen at a time there because we have neighbors that and people at work people that drop into our place once in a while that we just say, hey, you know what? Here's a jar of soup. It's free. Take it. I've had no one refuse it yet. So
lovely. So great how you can help with just a jar of soup, just a simple little action. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and keep on sharing the soup.
My privilege.
And your faith.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.